Hey guys, it is Rebecca Oberstadt, and today we are working on holiday look number 4. This is a holly and peppermint stripe look. Again, I wish I knew who created some of these looks. None of these pictures had any tags on them except for the one that would have gone up the day before this one. That's the only picture that had any type of mark on it, watermark, name, anything. So if you know who these people are, please let me know so I can tag them appropriately. So I started off with a BH brush to do the red. I do not have that like burgundy color, so I used what I had. And I do not have that like teal color mint-ish green in a matte shade. All the shades that I have that are similar to that are also like shimmer. So I was using a combination of the Orient Express and the Cartagena palette for this red from Nomad because that was really the closest red that I could find that this would work. I did find that the red in the Raw Beauty Christie palette worked a little bit, but it was a little too like purple instead of red. So I did a bunch of swatches and stuff on my hand to see what I could find red-wise that would work. I did talk to Marlena from Makeup Geek and asked her if she had any burgundies like this, and she said she did. So I need to get on their website and see what they have shade-wise, because the rest of the looks that I have to do for the holiday looks all have that red, burgundy, dark, rich, kind of like cranberry burgundy shade in it, and I don't have anything like that in my collection. I went through every palette, every single, trying to find that reddish shade, and I just couldn't find it. So I'm using what I have. This was actually a pretty simple look to recreate. I ended up getting a little experimental with the liner work. There are a few things that I would like to change, and as you see, I went too far blown out on the outer edge because of how downturned my eye is. When I close my eye, it looks fine, but when I open my eye, it like went way too far out on the bottom, and I do fix that. This was a shadow that I tried using, and I ended up switching to a different shadow at one point because I tried using, I ended up switching to the ColourPop Empire shade. That's one of their Super Shock shades. The brush is wet because that was the only way I could get that shadow to pick up at all on the brush, because they're like cream to powder kind of eyeshadows. I had a hard time getting it to pick up with that synthetic brush, and that's one of those like $1 Amazon special, you know, Alibaba kind of brushes. But they work really well for like detailed work. They also work really well when you get them wet. Shadows seem to work really well with them. And I'm just kind of carving out with the brush. I didn't do like a cut crease or anything on this. I think I put concealer on my lid, but that was basically it. But again, I don't have anything that was matte, that was that right shade, and so that's why I went with the Empire shade, because the rest of the look is pretty matte. So I went ahead and put a shimmer on it, and I really don't like all matte looks anyways. And both of these, the looks that I did that day were both like peppermint stripe inspired. The liner work on the other eye is definitely not my best work, and I talk about that in that video, which would have gone up yesterday. I definitely could have done better or different, and I explain how and why I would have done things differently. At least with this look, I didn't screw up nearly as bad as I did with that one. There are a few spots that I will talk about when we get to them, about what I would change and what I would do differently in application, or if you want to recreate something, just some hints and tips that would work better that I should have done or should have gone back over and tried to redo. But once you do liner work and stuff, things get a little bit harder to put shadow and stuff back on, because the liner really does kind of take over the look. So it's kind of hard to fix boo-boos unless you get the liner wet and then completely wipe off the area that you're working on and then try and reapply. And because I was noticing some sheerness on my lid, I ended up getting my finger on, putting the shadow on my finger and applying that to my lid as well to instead of like trying to mix shades to get that more rich red shade, I'm just using the regular red from my line of liner. This is the water activated liner, and that one dip seemed to go quite a ways. And you see I get a whole lot of liner work done with just that one swipe. So I was very pleasantly surprised with how much I was able to get done. And it's so much easier using these than it is to do like a liquid liner, because they don't seem to dry out. If they do, you just dip your brush in water and it's ready to go again. And I decided to use the red first so I could go back over later with the white. All of this is real time, by the way. All I did was cut out every time you saw my forehead for extended periods of time. If I'm just looking down for a second to get more product or whatever, I left that in. This video was 40 minutes, almost 40 minutes long. I got it down to 20 minutes and some change. So, you know, it is what it is. This is a longer of the videos so far, and here is where I clean up that outer edge, trying to get that extra spot at the corner of my eye cleaned up a little bit. I don't know why this entire segment was like blurry, but I'm just fixing the liner work or building up where I feel like it needed more attention. Now coming in with the white, trying to do, that was way too thick. Way too thick. Trying to do the peppermint stripes, and then I was like, okay, I got way too much down there, let me let that dry for a second. And I decided to go up here, at least with this look, unlike with the second look that I did where I was too low for the liner. At least this time I was high enough. And it's funny, with my eye open, it looks different with my eye open versus looking down with most of my eyelid exposed. So right now it looks like the line matches, but then as soon as I open my eye, the hood of my eye just kind of eats the shade. So you're like, ah, well, you know, it is what it is. My eyes are not perfect. This is my very, very hooded eye. I'm also partially deep set on this side where my eye retracts back into my orbital socket. And this is also the side that I had effects from my stroke on. So the eye is different than the other one. It's also the more difficult of the two to get done because I've had damage to that side of my body. So things happen. I'm not perfect. My health isn't perfect. And, you know, I just try my best. And with doing makeup, I haven't said this in a long time, but makeup is literally it's not even skin deep. It's sitting on top of your skin. You can, if you mess up, just wash it off and try again. If you're too frustrated, then say screw it and step away from it for a little bit. You can either, like here, I messed up. I tried blotting it with my finger. It didn't work. I tried putting some shadow back over it, realized that wasn't going to work very well either. I mean, the shadow did kind of hide the white line a little bit, but it wasn't perfect. But, you know, I'm not perfect. And I realized now editing this, my stripes are going the wrong direction. Hers are going the other direction. Oh, well. Another boo-boo. But, you know, I tried. You can try with makeup. You know, nobody is perfect. I learn new things every year. I learn new techniques every year. I try something different every year. So I'm always learning and growing as, you know, a person, and my makeup skills change every year. So it is what it is. You're not going to do this perfectly on the first try. And, you know, if my eyelids were 20 years younger, then maybe I wouldn't have nearly as many problems. If I haven't had as many health problems and stuff, then my eye maybe wouldn't have been as affected as it is. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into my thought process behind makeup. So when people tell me I'm perfect or I did an amazing job, that kind of thing, I'm not perfect. And And I really wish people would stop saying that, because all it does is just annoy me and piss me off. I don't think anybody's perfect, and I think we all do the best that we can, and that's all that we should be asked to do, is the best that we can, and leave it at that. I like doing the little swoops out here at the edge. This brush is actually kind of angled, and now we get into the holly. I didn't have a green quite the right shade, so I mixed a green and a black shade to try and get a more like dark forest green color, but I think the shade worked out. And I have to keep glancing at the picture to make sure that I'm doing this the right direction, because last time I tried to do holly leaves, the leaves were inverted instead of, the leaf points were too far in instead of going out like they should be. And I ran out of juice, so you gotta get a little more water. But I like how these little holly leaves turned out. I want to try and do them again on another look and see how detailed I can get. Using that little itty bitty black liner brush, I seem to be able to get very good detailed work. And those are the little brushes that I send out when people buy my liners. Okay, now here's where I kind of screwed up. Normally, I'm back in that super shock again. Normally with something that I need to do like shadow work on, I'll use a liner brush and get it wet and then roll it in the shadow to build product up on it. This is a little concealer brush from e.l.f. that I'm using. I did get it wet to see if that would help, but it ended up leaving the shadow a little bit patchy looking, and of course because I got a water activated liner on the outside and a water activated liner underneath of it, it ended up messing up that white line a little bit, and so it bled into the green. What I would do different is use a different green shadow than that Super Shock, because the Super Shock was giving me all kinds of issues. But what I would do is use an actual liner brush wet in a regular like green shadow to try and fill in the holly leaves this time. So maybe the next holly leaves I do, I will fill them in a little bit differently than I did this time. And I know she used the same color on her lid that she did for the leaves on her eye, and I think that's why I stuck with the Super Shock from ColourPop now for the little holly berries. I figured I'd do those and then do the other holly leaf. But she had 2 leaves on the top, 2 leaves on the bottom, and I ended up modifying it a little bit. And I like the little white details that she had in hers, kind of like they have little shiny spots on them. So I decided to do that in mine too. Just a little bit of dimension, I guess you could say, in the detail. I like doing these little detailed looks when my eyesight starts to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. I do have contacts that I could wear, but when I do eye makeup, I really don't like wearing contacts because of the simple fact that they make my eyes water really bad. And they irritate my eyes because I have to wear weighted contacts because I have an astigmatism. And this holly leaf looks really sad, like really sad. Like I don't know what I was thinking with that one. It didn't look right at all. And then I try fixing it, and I just make the lines a little bit too fat. Those bottom lines are too fat. And then I try swooping out the sides, and it goes too far. Here we go. That's a little too far on that side too. But, again, I'm not perfect. But these little guys are kind of fun to draw. It's kind of like you draw an A, and then you draw a like funky looking C and part of an S, and you just gotta have fun when you're doing stuff like this. I usually have music playing in the background, and I just kind of rock out to it. If it's late, then I usually listen to music in headphones when I'm doing stuff like this, so that my brain has something to distract it while I'm doing all this close-up detail work. Because I have ooh shiny moments a lot, and sometimes I just kind of end up staring off into space, so that doesn't help. So the music helps distract my brain. I'll try and find music to put behind me. talking. I don't know why the camera wants to focus on the door. When I'm doing such tiny work on my face, it wants to focus on the door, or like my eyebrow or my forehead. Yeah, there's another really funky looking holly leaf. Got way too far out on that. And then I try fixing the top and it ends up bleeding. It's just mistakes that you find. And then I went again with that damn super shot and I tried to fill in those holly leaves again. And I was just not having luck. I mean, look, I'm like swipe. Where's the color? There's no pigment. Hello? Hello? And you saw me wrinkle my brow. After the like 5th or 6th tap on the skin and there's no pigment, you're like, wait a minute. What happened? Why is this not working? And there are some parts here in just a minute that get a little bit too low. I don't know what I was thinking. When I do all this small work, I don't really pay attention to what the viewfinder is looking at, which is why half the time I don't catch when it's blurry, and I don't realize I'm too far down so that the viewfinder isn't finding, the camera isn't seeing the work that I'm doing, which is why some of these looks I recorded a little bit further out so that they were easier to edit, because then I had more room to like zoom in and that kind of stuff. Every one of these I've zoomed in as close as I can with the allowance of the frame and of course whatever work was being done. I tried to make sure that all of it was in frame, except for the stuff that literally in recording it didn't get recorded because I was out of frame for those. But until I can get my camera fixed or find somebody to fix my camera, I'm kind of stuck with the bad sensor in my view screen, and it's upside down and it's hard to tell where you're at all times in there. And just doing all the little detail work. Basically it's just a double T. You line down the center and then you cross it twice. 1, 2. There you go. And we do 3 little bloops for the holly berries again. And I'm using the end of the liner brush, just kind of dipping it in the red water activated liner and then just kind of placing it on my face, because it made perfectly little round dots, which worked great. I didn't have to worry about messing with the other side of the liner brush. And since I already had white on the liner brush from doing the stripes again, why are you blurry? Hello? You gonna clear up? No. Probably staring. Yep, it's staring at the door. You can see it just past my lashes on my other eye. It's still staring at the door. What the hell, camera? I figured by putting those postcards behind me that it would stop staring at the door, but it likes to look at the wood grain on the door. And I did do a little white bloop out there to the side, and I just left it. I was like, screw it. I didn't feel like cleaning it up. But I noticed that she had a little white tip on her wing out at the very end, so I tried to recreate that as well. And just cleaning up some edges. And I made my wing too big. What happens when you slip? Sometimes going back over work causes more issues and makes it better. But yeah, here's the finished look. Let me know what you guys think. This is holiday look number 4. I've got a few more to edit that are filmed right now. And hopefully you guys are liking these holiday videos. If you like this, please let me know in the comment section down below. And yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good month of December. I mean, it's just another month for me. Get out of my bathroom package, you weirdo. Cat in the bathroom. In the cabinets. Anyways, I'm Rebecca Oberstadt. I will see you guys later. Have a fantastic day or night. Bye.